Moving on to the next thing that we have today, that is something that Jacob actually wanted to talk about when prepping for this episode. You said that it was obligatory. Everybody has to talk about it.
People were farming content for this.
And so that's the Caitlin Clark, the new women's NCAA scoring record, career points that she passed Kelsey Plum recently. What direction did you want to go with this? Did you want to bring up any controversies of things people have talked about?
First off, I think it is obnoxious for Jay Williams to say, I'm not ready to call her great yet.
Yeah, I agree.
There'd be a difference if he were to say, I'm not willing to call her an all-time great yet, or one of the greatest yet. Mm-hmm. Even then, I'd kind of have a problem with that. And he said because she hasn't won anything.
Yeah.
You know what she did do? Score more points than anyone else.
Yeah.
That is a measurable metric.
And there's not like an exception to that, like she's played an extra year or anything. Like I've seen, there was this one person that was on the show with Gilbert Arenas, which Gilbert Arenas, handshake to you, sir, for like literally every single terrible take that I see, like every single like clip of somebody saying something that's just like not true, that's getting a lot of engagement, you know, it's always your show. Why? Like just stop it. Somebody needs to fact check things or something, you know what I mean? Like don't just put out lies into the world all the time.
Everybody gets confused because she was a college student during the COVID year, but has not used her COVID year of eligibility.
Yeah, she would be able to next year.
She will not. I would actually, with NIL.
It doesn't matter if she does. She already beat the record before.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
In the same time frame that other people had, she beat the record.
Less games than Kelsey Plum set the record. So, but she was saying, to me, for it to count as the record, you have to do it in 4 years. It's like, okay, she is in her 4th year right now. Also, she's played less games. So you have a 0 point here.
Well, and also, I think that like immediately the second she broke the record, everyone started talking about her like she was the greatest player in the WNBA right now. They like skipped March Madness. They skipped everything and were like, when she's in the WNBA, she's going to be the best player on the court. I'm like, I don't think that people understand that there's like people that can shoot like Caitlin Clark in the WNBA that also are bigger than her and play very good defense. Like Caitlin Clark is like maybe 6 foot, maybe. Mm-hmm. Why the WNBA is not the same as the NBA, 6 foot in the WNBA is still like being a 6'3", 6'4" guy in the NBA. You're like not insanely tall. Your height will be something you have to combat.
You're like a big guard, probably, I would say.
6 foot's like a big guard, yeah.
I would guess.
So like 6'4", 6'5".
Oh yeah, for like the equivalent.
As like to equivalence it over to the NBA.
I'm not sure exactly, but I would guess something like that.
Just rough ballpark.
Yeah. Which, by the way, while we were talking about it earlier, I did look up what the average height in the WNBA is, and it's slightly over 6'2". So 6 foot is like the equivalent of like 6'4", 6'5" in the NBA, probably.
Roughly.
Mm-hmm. So we're pretty close with our estimation.
Yeah. We also had somebody comment us on TikTok that Caitlin Clark could beat anybody in the NBA in a game to 11, shooting 1s and 2s.
Not anybody, but some NBA players, I think is what.
Some NBA players.
Yeah.
By shooting 1s and 2s. And I'm like, if it was just shooting, like a shooting drill, yeah, for sure. She would knock down shots with the best of them. With Curry, probably even. Mm-hmm. But in a one-on-one where there's like defense being played and rebounds if you miss.
With an NBA athlete.
With an NBA level athlete, even if you were to try to cherry pick the shortest, slowest, short guy that exists, but guess what? They're not in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly. They don't exist.
If you're short, you're insanely fast or insanely athletic. So there's like...
Yeah, you have something that's superhuman that's making you an NBA player.
Like I saw somebody said that in a full court one-on-one game, they thought that Caitlin Clark would beat Rudy Gobert 11-0.
Is it like make it, take it, and she starts with the ball, maybe?
It was full court, so I assume it has to be. But I think their point was like, she could run circles around Rudy Gobert. And I'm like, Rudy Gobert doesn't got to run that far when he can just reach the three-point line from the paint.
That's just not true. Rudy Gobert, he can stay with guys on the perimeter better than, like, just throwing this out there as a handshake to Rudy Gobert. This probably has been his best season defending on the perimeter. And he's never been a stiff. People just clip moments of him getting crossed up by Stephen Curry and Chris Paul, two of the greatest point guards in NBA history. It's like, oh, wow.
At doing that expressive, like,
yeah.
Who else is above? Kyrie Irving is the only person that's like
above that,
harder to guard,
yeah.
Like in a one-on-one scenario.
Yeah, no duh. 7'1" center, rim protector is gonna get lost trying to guard somebody like that. But he stays with NBA guards pretty well. So I don't think, like Caitlin Clark, I'm not trying to disrespect, like skill-wise, definitely on par with a lot of things that NBA players are doing. But there's only so much like a physically ordinary person can do against like the superhumans that are in the NBA.
Yeah, like imagine the best basketball player on your high school team, unless the best basketball player on high school was like Harrison Barnes or something. I know a guy that went to the same high school as Harrison Barnes.
Oh, wow.
And Doug McDermott, actually, because they were at Iowa State and Ames.
Wow. They went to the same high school? I didn't even know that.
That's how I understood the story he was telling. Anyway, unless you have like that level of the best player on your high school team would get absolutely washed by probably Caitlin Clark, honestly, as how crazy of like skill-wise some of the upper echelon WNBA players or high-level college basketball, like it's the gap between us, actually, I'm going to quote the man himself, the White Mamba, Brian Scalabrine. The gap between me and you
is bigger,
is further than me and LeBron.
Yeah.
Just replace Brian Scalabrine with like the average high school basketball player. I'm actually messing up this analogy.
Yeah, replace Brian Scalabrine with Caitlin Clark, I think is what you mean.
And then you as the best high school basketball player you know.
I would say that Caitlin Clark's probably closer to that guy than LeBron, but
yeah, that's fair.
But no, there's still definitely a gap there, I feel like. You know, hearing the story this weekend, All-Star Weekend, for those of you who don't know when we're recording this, when Sabrina Ionescu, I told you the wrong pronunciation when you asked me before.
It's Ionescu?
Yeah, Ionescu. But I always, when I read it, I just see Ionescu. Yeah, Ionescu. But she apparently wanted to play on the boys team back when she was like in middle school or something like that, because like she was...
To feel something.
Yeah, she was a lot better than all the girls she was playing with. Something like that. I feel like, I don't think that was like unrealistic, especially in middle school, like where, you know, girls advance physically faster than the boys do. I feel like that definitely could have been something that was realistic. But there's some people out there that just, you know, think it's like no matter what, they're always like a tier below or whatever, you know, and that's just not true, to be honest. But yeah, this Caitlin Clark thing though, pretty wild. I've watched like too much of it myself, but seeing the clips and seeing like the highlights of it is very fun to watch. Just the aesthetic of all of her half court shots, just the way they go in.
It's always just this crisp, just... You feel like it makes that just that noise.
Yeah, it just
every
drops
time.
in. It's like that's where it was meant to be, you know? It's where the ball was meant to be.